Hello, today is Thursday, January 14th, and before we start our lesson, there was a retrieval practice link that you're going to need to complete. So you're going to come to on our first slide, you're going to click on the Google form, and you are going to complete the retrieval document, making sure to put in your first and your last name, indicate who your teacher is, and there are some questions that are not related to our content that you still need to answer, and there are going to be a couple of math questions on here that are related to our math content that you need to complete. So, so you can solve any of the problems in your notebook first before you mark your answer here. So go in and take out your notebook and go in and do your division problem here and your multiplication in your notebook first, and then you can come back to our form and mark your answer. Remember, when you finish, go in and hit submit. So whenever you finish with the document, click on submit. All right, so after you finish the retrieval practice document, then it's time for us to go in and go into our lesson for today. And today is lesson 24, Monster Math is what it's called. So we're just continuing to work as we have been the last all week long with area and perimeter, continuing with area and perimeter. And on our next slide, I have our multiplication table here, and this is just as a resource for you. So I've got this here as a resource for you to always be able to come back to if you need it. And our next two slides are there for you to be able to put a picture of your work. So if you're doing work in your binder or in your notebook, take pictures of your work and insert it into either one of these slides, 4 and 5. Our learning target for today, I can use my understanding of area to find the area of rectilinear figures with known side lengths. Our central question, why is it important to approach problems using a variety of strategies? That remains the same for us for the whole unit. We just continue to build upon that. Now, there are a few Jamboards that are included with today's lesson that your teacher already assigned to you on Google Classroom. The first one is going to be Jamboard for examples of area and perimeter. This is not in your binder today, and I'll show you in a second exactly which one you should be bringing up first. All right, so the first Jamboard is this one, and there are two different slides on this Jamboard. The first one is about area. It says the instructions use the sticky note tool to type a real world example of area. So what is a real world? Using the sticky note, you're going to just type in, after you think about it, what is a real world example where you would be using area? And for the next one, perimeter. Use the sticky note tool to type a real world example of perimeter. So in what situation in the real world would you use perimeter? So we're going to pause for a few minutes and give you an opportunity to work on those, and then we'll discuss. So you've had an opportunity to work on these. Some real world type examples that I have right here for area. When would you use area? The first one is showing carpeting for a room. If you need to redo the carpet in your room, you're going to need to know what size that you need for that room, which is going to be the area. Also, if you're buying paint for a room, you're going to need to know the area so that you can get enough. Purchasing fabric for a quilt, how big do you want the quilt? Planting a garden or seed in the yard, how much area do you need to cover? And if you're replacing glass in a window, you're going to need to know how big or how much glass for that particular window. And that's for area. And possible examples for real world examples for perimeter could be some of the things I have listed here. Running around, if you're running around the block, just going for a jog, and you want to keep up with how far you're going, you want to know the perimeter and for the distance. If you are completing or redoing molding around a window, you need to know how much to buy so that you can have enough. Also, if you're putting a fence around your yard, you need to know the size, which is going to be the perimeter. And lastly, if you're buying a wallpaper border for your room, you need to know the size of the room so that you can get enough. All right, so we've gone through the examples on our first Jamboard. So next, there's a short video here for real world area and perimeter song. So this is something, if you're watching this from home, I want you to click on this yourself and be able to watch it. So watch this one on your own. It's a little short. I think it's about a 3-minute video for you to watch. It just talks about real world situations. And on our next slide, now this is actually the same as on page 115 in your binder. What do you notice and wonder? What do you notice and wonder about this picture? We're going to pause for a second. I want you to take a look at it and be thinking about what do you notice and what do you wonder. All right, so you've had an opportunity kind of to look at this picture, which is also the same as on page 115 of your binder, and to think about what do you notice and what do you wonder about it. Now, you've been working on solving problems involving area of rectangles, and and if you look, you should be noticing that these looks like several different rectangles in here, and like they're all put together. So the monster is made up entirely of rectangles. Now, today we're going to be asked to think about what we've done so far with area and perimeter, and to apply that thinking to find the area of complex rectilinear figures like this. This is more like a complex rectangle here. This is a complex figure, is what we call it. All right, so on our next slide, we're going to do a little bit of work with that same monster on page 115 in your binder. Now, it is in your binder, but also have a Jamboard for that. So I'm going to show you which Jamboard to be. So this is our next Jamboard, and our question for this one is, what is the area of this monster figure? What is the area of this monster figure? And remember, there are several different rectangles in here. So one thing that you can do is to, try to look at them as separate rectangles, or identify the separate rectangles. Like, could be the arms and then the legs and then the body. Identify the separate rectangles, find the area of those, and then you add them all up to get the area. So I want you to pause the video for a few minutes and go on and try to figure out what is the total area of this monster. All right, so you've had an opportunity to work on it. I want you to compare it to my answer key here. So if you look at the monster, you can see all the dimensions. And for the arms, these are going to be 1 by 3, which means it has an area of 3, each of these, this arm and this arm. So that's 3 and 3. The body itself, it is a 3 by 3, and it has a total area of 9. So if you count each of these little small rectangles inside, there's a total of 9. So the legs, 1 by 2, 1 by 2. So that means it has an area 2. So when you add them all up, your total area is 19 square units for the total area. So for our next slide, this title is Recreate the Monster. And for this one, I'm going to give you an opportunity to use the online color tile manipulatives. And we've done this before earlier in our school year. So basically, you're going to want to build this same monster using the manipulatives here. So I'll give you an opportunity to practice with that. So you click on there, and then you just go on and compare them to your monster. And I want you to build your monster based off of using these tiles. Just practice with it. And on our next slide is create your own monster. So you're going to be able to create your own monster using certain criteria. And this one's on a Jamboard. And the specific Jamboard that you should be using for this one is here. So it says monster 1. For your first monster, create each part of the monster using the centimeter grid, and this is the grid, and the criteria below. Use the rectangular tool on the left toolbar to use rectangles for each part of the body. So feel free to change the color using the paint bucket tool on the top toolbar. Then find the total area. So with this one, the criteria for the head, the area is 20 square centimeters. The body, the area is 45 square centimeters. The arm, each arm has a perimeter of 16 centimeters, and for the legs, each leg has a perimeter of 22 centimeters. So you're going to use the toolbar over here, which here's a rectangle. So just based off of the dimensions that are given, you just kind of go and make it however long that it should be. Okay, so the area for the head is 20, so that means you have to have 20 in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. So it has to be 20 total for the head. Okay, and you're going to go ahead and utilize the dimensions over here to create the rest of your first monster. So that's the first one. So I got you started on that. And you got a second one here. So for the second one, create a monster with a total area between 30 and 45 square centimeters. So you create your own, but it's got to be between 30 and 45 square centimeters. And this is going to be your independent work. Okay, so you've had an opportunity to work on create your own monsters, monster 1, and here's the criteria for that one, and monster 2, and here's the criteria for that one. So I'm going to show you a finished product for that, the answer key. Okay, so this is the first one. You can compare it to what you already have. And as a reminder, the head area was 20 square centimeters, so it takes up a total of 20 of the small squares, and the body total area is 45. So the body is total area 45. Of course, the body goes directly underneath the head, and the arm has a perimeter of 16. So that means that on the outside, you should have a total of 16, and we do. And for the legs, the perimeter 22. So when you add up all the exterior around it, it should be 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It should be a total of 22. Okay. And same thing for the other leg. And that gives us a total area of 141 square meters. Now for the second part, you had to create a monster with a total area between 30 and 45. So that means that the total area has to be between 30 and 45 square centimeters. Now this one, yours may look different than what I have here, but this is the one I have here. I've got a total of 37 square centimeters for this one, because it falls, that's in between there. So you could have had anywhere from 30 to 45 for that one. And our next slide is going to be your Jamboard for monster homework. Now, this is also in your binder on page 121. So you do have an option of completing it inside of your binder. But remember, if you do the work in your binder and not in the Jamboard, you're going to need to take a picture of your work and insert it into one of the slides at the very beginning where you can put your picture of your work. Now, which Jamboard do you need for this one? It's going to be this one. So this is the correct one that says monster homework at the top. So find the area of the monster drawn below. Remember to decompose the monster into smaller rectangles. This is not drawn to a scale, so that means that it is not specifically 5 centimeters if you use a ruler to measure it, okay? But it represents 5 centimeters right here. Show your thinking. And the second part of that, create a monster with a total area of 36 square units below. Label each side length. So you're going to draw your own monster right here, but it has to have a total area of 36 square units. And remember to label each of the side lengths to let me know how long is each, how much area does each cover. And finally here, this is just a reminder of your independent work. So complete the Jamboards on those previous 2 slides that I showed you guys, or they're also on page 116 and 121 in your book. But if you do it in your book, make sure to take a picture and insert a picture of your work into the slides. And finally, 15 minutes on Dreambox. 15 minutes on Dreambox.